Okay, we are rolling now. Counting us down.
Numbers.
3, 2.
You're listening to Missing Out with Lex Michael and Tari J. Let's start the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out. I'm Tari J.
I'm Lex Michael.
And if this is your first time listening, what we do here is we introduce each other to different media, whether it be movies, music, television, spoken word, books, experiences, things that have built us up as people, and we hope that in sharing them, it helps build you. We are the retrospective that's introspective.
I mentally wandered away for just a couple of seconds, and I came back on is everything fine? And of course it is. You got this.
I mean,
You're on
I can
top
do
of
it again. Hey, if this is your first time, listen. Oh, okay.
Now I'm going to physically wander away. But no, I knew I should have trusted. It was all in good hands.
You should always trust me, baby.
Came back to discover, in fact, my confidence was well-founded.
Good.
And any doubts I had, not likewise.
I mean, this every word you say hurts me a little bit more. just a little bit.
I have such a fucked up relationship with self that even the compliments sting. In fact, they may sting even worse because I don't know what to do with them.
Oh.
That's sad.
Yeah. So guys, today we are talking about the 1981 David Cronenberg film Scanners, starring Jennifer O'Neill, Stephen Lack, Patrick McGoohan. Is that how you spell it?
McGoohan.
I think it's McGoohan.
McGoohan.
Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside. He's not even in the opening credits. And he outlasted all of these people.
Sort of.
He outlasted them all. I've never even heard of a Patrick McGoohan.
The trade-off, though, is he gets to be on all the marketing materials.
That's true.
Like the poster that most people are familiar with for this movie, the key art is just him, body rigid, his eyes white, going So that's the trade-off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I accept that. So Lex Michael, you brought this in for us.
I did.
So pitch it.
All right. So for his fifth commercial feature, writer-director David Cronenberg takes us into a world of conspiracy, corporate espionage, and underground psychic spy networks, the telekinetic power of which is so profound your head's gonna explode. Bitch.
Hell yeah. Damn, guys, that was so good. Are you sold? Are you I feel like you got to be sold.
It's the Captain America Winter Soldier moment where you turn to me and it's like, is that off the top of your head or did you write it down first?
Yeah.
Price of freedom is high.
But yeah, this was my first time seeing it. I'm sure that if you haven't seen it at home, you're familiar with the gif of the guy in the glasses whose head blows up.
Yes, Scanners has been known since its release as the head exploding movie.
Yep. Which, reasonably so. It's a very shocking, striking moment.
They originally, the plan was to open the movie with that scene, and when they tested it, they discovered that after that moment, audiences could not focus on anything else that was happening. So they moved it to about the 15-minute mark after we've already introduced the protagonist and a bit of the world and the mythology.
Yeah.
And even still, that's the moment that everybody still to this day remembers. And like you say, most people know that reference even if they've never seen the movie. Do you think kids would have any clue now, people that are younger than us by 5 to 7 years? I figure they'd know Cronenberg through movies like The Fly.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think younger, if they see the GIF, for example, or they hear the head exploding Scanners reference, do you think they have any tether to what that means? I don't know what kids know now.
I mean, my guess would be no, mostly because I didn't know it was from Scanners. I had seen the GIF, and I only realized it was from Scanners because of Sword Art Online Abridged.
Okay.
Where he uses it as an example of what will happen if they try to take off the nerve gear. Because everyone's like, I don't understand. You're talking about microwaves. And he's like, have you guys seen Scanners? And it's the head exploding GIF. And I was like, oh,
got it.
Okay.
So you hadn't heard that? You hadn't heard it referenced, and it were just the correlation between Scanners and heads exploding? You just knew the GIF out of context.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Because I'd been hearing the references, like explicit references to, the Kinect scanners with the concept of heads exploding since well before I actually saw Scanners.
Oh, interesting. When did you see Scanners?
I do not remember the first time I saw Scanners. It was many years ago.
Okay.
But I think I saw it a little bit late as far as the order of Cronenberg movies that I watched. It was his seventh feature overall, but his fifth commercial feature. But I think a lot of people got into Cronenberg through the stuff he did afterwards, stuff like Videodrome and The Fly and Dead Ringers. So eventually I went back and I watched a lot of the first wave stuff, like Rabid and The Brood, which is also a movie that's worth talking about, and then also Scanners.
Okay. This was my first Cronenberg.
Really?
Yes. I've seen like bits of The Fly, but I've never seen it all the way through.
This piece of news, this bomb you just dropped on me is very, very exciting because that means I get to bring in Cronenberg movies to show you. I was actually leaning heavily towards talking about Videodrome this week, which is a movie that I love, I think even more than Scanners.
Okay.
But I figured once I knew you hadn't seen Scanners, I figured let's start here, give me an excuse to watch Scanners again, and then we'll go and do Videodrome when I have more time. Like, I've got the Criterion Blu-ray of both movies, and the Videodrome disc is stacked, so I want to make sure when I bring in Videodrome, I've gone back through everything on that disc so I could be like, look how smart I am, bitch. Look how little you know compared to me and shit.
That's it. I'm going to buy the Blu-ray too. And I'll be like, oh, no, I know what you're talking about because I watched this thing as well. But no, my main association with Cronenberg, the first thing I think about is the episode of Rick and Morty,
right,
where they create a Cronenberg universe, basically.
Even though he has moved away from it in his more recent works, he was for a long time the body horror guy.
Right.
Scanners is no exception. The Brood is no exception. Videodrome, certainly. The Fly, of course. Big elements of that make their way into Dead Ringers as well. So yes, for the longest time and for a great many people still, Cronenberg is synonymous with horrifying body mutations or mutilations.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I've seen stills from The Fly.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. I am in a Cronenberg movie. I am in, not that I got, I don't have a major part.
Right, you're just on the... on all the advertising material.
All the marketing. I am Mia Wasikowska. Did you not know that? I'm a very good actor. That's how I fool everybody.
Of course.
No, the very beginning of his most recent movie, Maps to the Stars, I am visible as like the one person getting off a bus behind Mia Wasikowska and walking over towards our Pats, who's sitting in a car nearby.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, which was really fun because I was a Cronenberg fan for a long time before that, and when you show up for a project like that, they don't always tell you what you're there for, so we showed up not knowing what it was, and after a certain number of hours, rumors started to circulate. Nothing concrete. I get placed, because I was doing background.
Yeah.
I get placed in the scene, and I see a gentleman with gray-white hair walking around, talking to people, looking like he's the dude in charge, and I see him, I'm like, okay, and then I do a double take, like a cartoon character, and I go, is that David Cronenberg? Oh, shit. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, here I am now. And they were like, "Stop that, we're rolling." But it was really cool because I did a couple of different scenes, including the one where I come off the bus behind Mia Wasikowska, and because I'm right behind her, like so much so that I really had to make a concerted effort not to bump into her as I slip between her and the bus to walk the way I'm supposed to. The cool thing about it, though, being that close, was that I could actually watch Cronenberg giving her direction. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool fucking thing to see up close.
Yeah. Did you get to give him a hug?
I was like, yo, Crony. He was like, get this motherfucker off of my set. I was like, worth it.
I think this is a good time to drop down that sweet, sweet spoiler wall.
It's really tough to talk too much about anything that goes on in this movie. I feel like I pat myself on the back with both hands. I feel like I nailed it in the pitch, pretty much what we can talk about without spoiling anything.
Right. So, guys, if you haven't had a chance to see it, do so. I assume that you've been wooed by that sweet pitch. So you can find it on Amazon, or you can get the Blu-ray somewhere.
Criterion put it out on Blu-ray, and as always, the presentation from them is incredible. There's a little booklet with an essay by Kim Newman. I don't work for Criterion. I'm just a big fucking...
Yeah, you're a fan.
But if you're listening and you want to give me some kind of job, or you want to pay us to plug your fucking discs on this show, please, Criterion, we love you. But they did a great job with it. I recommend... If you've got, I understand physical media can get a little bit pricey for some people, but if you've got a little extra scratch and you want to check the movie out, that is the format I recommend most highly.
Okay. Yeah, I checked it out on, I rented it on Amazon Prime.
Which I'm sure is just
nice.
fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can also get it on iTunes. I think if you get it on iTunes, their typical requirements when you're delivering to iTunes is that it has to match the disc, so it probably has extra features as well.
Okay.
That's my assumption, or you may have to buy it to get the extra features, but either way.
Yeah, and the Criterion disc has some pretty cool recent interviews with a lot of the cast members and so on.
Yeah, so highly recommend checking it out. I think I've stalled enough. You've been able to pause it by now.
Right, you got it. It's like a corporate espionage, conspiracies, psychic underground, and telekinetic battles. You got it. And an exploding head.
So we are dropping the spoiler wall in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers are allowed now. We're a spoiler podcast.
It was a fucking sled.
Hell yeah.
It was a fucking sled. They're the same person.
Yeah.
Kaiser Soze is Kevin Spacey.
What if we were to do that movie on the show?
Someone's super pissed that I just spoiled that for them. They're like, I was queuing it up to watch it right now. Fuck you, Missing Out podcast.
Yeah.
You'll regret this. I'm gonna get you.
I only watch old movies and listen to podcasts at the same time. It's how I do it.
Can you imagine how disorienting it would be for somebody to use one of our shows as a commentary track for the movie we're talking about?
I think it'd be great, you know? Like, it wouldn't be in sync, but, like, there would be moments where it kind of lines up. But we should probably just give a quick recap for those who have forgotten. Let's say you watched this movie years ago and you're like, I just remember the head exploding part, but the rest of it is kind of fuzzy.
Or you watched it this morning and smoke a ton of weed.
Hell yeah. You were like,
420 just passed, baby. Gotta keep it going. 421, 422, 423.
That's how 420 works.
Right, and Easter is 421, and as everybody knows, Easter is the holiday in which, according to the Bible, Magical Rabbit hands out fat blunts to everybody.
Hell
to
yeah.
all of the children.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the bunny went to jail. But he took over the prison from the inside. He Wilson Fisked that motherfucker.
Hell yeah. So, in this movie...
Isn't that what Hop is about?
Yep. Yeah. That's what it's about.
Spoiled Hop. Same guy's like, fuck you, Missing Out cast.
That was the next one I was queuing up.
What an odd double feature.
Yeah. He
fucking Usual Suspects and Hop.
Uh-huh. He likes crime dramas, which I assume Hop is.
Hop is the one with James, it's with live action CG one.
Yes.
Right? That Brian Lynch wrote.
Yes.
With James Marsden.
Yes.
Who's also going to be the guy in the Sonic movie, right?
I don't know, man.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
I don't know, man.
Starring Jim Carrey as
probably
Ivo
sure.
Robotnik. It's true. It's happening.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Someone's head's going to explode in that motherfucker. All right. What are we here to talk about?
We're just summarizing this sweet scanning movie.
I'm just over here looking at memes and shit.
Yeah,
looking
he
at
won't
James
put his
Marsden's
phone down.
fucking headshot. I'm like, what a pretty man. He is handsome.
He's like, guys, remember when he was Cyclops? Oh man, now it's that guy from Ready Player One. Boo.
He's fucking shoots up right in bed somewhere in the valley. Like, hey. Fuck you, Missing Out podcast. You'll regret this. Like, we've got a contingent of people that are building their own Legion of Doom to come after us because they're so fed up with our bullshit and tomfoolery.
I'm into it. Yeah, baby. Fuck you. Fight me.
So, all right. So, scanners. What are we? You said you maybe want to start with a general overview, a synopsis, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. Yo, Tari J, tell me what this movie is.
Yo. All right. So this movie is about Cameron Vale, a homeless dude who gets snatched up by the government because he has secret psychic powers, and there's apparently an underground faction of psychic people trying to take over the world that's led by Michael Ironside. His character's name is Ravok.
Daryl Ravok.
Daryl Ravok.
I never get tired of the way Stephen Lack says Daryl Ravok. Daryl Ravok.
And then what else happens? Oh, and so the government, or this government company,
It's a consec, so it's just one corporation essentially.
yeah, they send Vale after Revik as like a little amateur spy,
Right.
And he's bad at it. So
Right.
he
It's like
gets,
how do we take him down from within?
Right.
And they discover that they've got Consec's got a traitor, right? Who right away, as soon as they're like, we're gonna use this, we found one scanner and we can convert him to our cause and we can send him as a spy to take down Revik's splinter cell from the inside.
yeah.
Immediately in this fucking story, the insider tells Revik, yeah, this is what they're doing. so he knows the entire fucking time,
Right.
And is able to just play everybody like puppets.
Exactly. Which I liked that. Like I felt like Revik was a really well done villain. Like it's an aspect of, like, I feel like you only really see him in probably like 15-20 minutes of the movie.
Does not have a huge, everyone's always talking about him, but does not have a huge amount of screen time.
Yeah, because he is the mastermind, which makes him more intimidating. Like, you see how powerful he is in his first scene, where he's basically trying to discredit Consec. And so they're doing their little presentation like, guys, I'm going to scan you, and I'm going to
Don't be worried about the side effects. You may experience a headache, maybe a nosebleed, some nausea, but that's pretty normal.
right.
It's like, who wants to do it? And the whole room's like, fuck
no.
you. Fuck you, guy. That's a terrible pitch. And Revik's just like,
I'll do it.
I will be scanned.
And then that's where you get the sweet head explodey gif.
Yes, that's where it comes from, about 15 minutes in, after we've established Stephen Lack's character and Consec and Dr. Ruth and all of this conspiracy backstory. Then we go right to that scene, which they had to move to the 15-minute mark so anybody could focus on what was happening.
And I was reading about how they did it. And so I guess they had made a latex mold of the glasses guy's head, and then they filled it with like old lunch, like rabbit livers, fake blood, and one other thing. And then they basically shot a shotgun from behind, which like created a very crazy effect.
It's pretty fucking wild.
But that scene, I think, if you weren't paying attention, that snaps you right into the movie. And then you get like a sequence of Revik being captured by Consec and him just essentially playing them like fiddles. Like, he starts mind controlling them into not giving him the ephemeral, which is the drug that's supposed to suppress his powers. Then he mind controls one of them into crashing his car into a street, and then he gets another one that's in the car he's in to shoot the other cop and then shoot himself, and he's like, ha 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 ha, I am evil, I am Revik, blah 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 blah, fear me.
Turns to the camera, he's like, scanned ya. Makes a little pistol finger.
Right. Yeah,
that's his catchphrase.
But yeah, I feel like this is the youngest I've seen Michael Ironside.
Who Michael Ironside is a massive resume. Like, you, even if you don't know the name, you have seen the dude's work repeatedly.
Right. I feel like the most recent version of Michael Ironside I've seen was as Leonard Snart's father on The Flash.
That's right.
And then I think the first time in memory that I have of Michael Ironside was as the main villain in the famous Jet Jackson movie.
It's been a very long time since I've seen the famous Jet Jackson movie, so I will cop to not having any memory of Ironsides being in that.
Yeah, he's the main villain. He because in the movie the two universes start to overlap.
Right.
So like in the famous Jet Jackson verse, the TV show that the main character stars in is actually a real universe.
Silverstone, the ultimate action hero. At least that's who he plays on TV. In real life, he's just a regular kid. Which, by the way, is bullshit, because you're the star of a successful TV show. There's nothing regular kid about you, sir.
I mean, but he's in a small town, you know? It's like how when back in like the 80s, 70s, they'd pick up cool kids off the street, take them on tour, and then drop them off and give them no money. Same thing. Oh. He was just like that. He wasn't even getting paid for any of the episodes he did. They were just like, yeah, get this black kid on TV, and then we'll give him no money, and he'll just feed off the fame.
That's tragically pretty regular, unfortunately. But yeah, Michael Ironside, massive resume. He was in Top Gun. He was in Total Recall. He was in Free Willy, the greatest American motion picture. The real Citizen Kane is how I refer to Free Willy. Also Starship Troopers. Yes. He was in Perfect Storm. He was in, I vaguely remember him being in Terminator Salvation.
I didn't see it.
Which it's got its moments.
Okay, cool.
Aesthetically interesting.
All right.
Grumpy Christian Bale.
I mean, that's the best Christian Bale.
A lot of grumpy Christian Bale.
So yeah, he's I would say the breakout piece of this movie. I think that like his performance is subtle, but when you get in the like heat of things with him, then he just goes balls to the wall.
Yeah,
which I think is a great juxtaposition to the like really silent mastermind he had been playing throughout.
Yes,
because every interaction you had with him, he was either just kind of like staring off, and like crazy stuff would be happening around him, or he'd have like really calm, like mastermindy conversations with the mole,
right?
Where he's like, kill him,
right? And there are plenty of moments where he doesn't have to say anything or do too terribly much, but he still has this malevolent quality to him. Where if you've never seen the movie before, you had no idea who was who coming in. That first scene, all dude has to do is quietly raise his hand to volunteer for the scan. You're like, this motherfucker's up to no good. There's some sinister shit afoot.
Yeah. And I like that they found a way, and this is deep spoilers, to like tie him and give him a connection to the main character, and that they are brothers.
Right. I saw the essay that accompanies the Criterion Blu-ray, which I looked at again this morning. The writer Kim Newman compares it in a way to the Odin, Thor, Loki dynamic.
Oh, interesting.
With the caveat that in this case, I suppose Vale would be Thor, and he doesn't know who his father is. But Dr. Ruth, who's been the one pulling him into the fold right from the very beginning, turns out, that's his daddy of both of them, and our two leads are brothers.
So can we talk about Dr. Ruth for a little bit?
Yes.
Because I don't know if he was ever a sympathetic character, but he was always a character that like had a very interesting presence. Like the first time you meet him, he's just kind of hanging out with Cameron, and he's like, look, you can get your stuff under control. Like, I brought you in. Like, look, here's how the world works, bro. Like, you know, I got you. I'm gonna make your life better.
Right. Well, and also ostensibly his aims are altruistic, right? Like, we established very clearly, very early, Revik is the villain of the piece, and his goals are to be opposed. So when we get introduced to Ruth and we introduce the mythology and he explains to Vale who's who, what's what, you think to yourself, all right, well, this dude is acting in the best interest of potentially of everybody, right? Hopefully.
Sort of, but like it's a little more gray because you get that boardroom scene where they're like, yo, this dude's head exploded. Like, we're discredited. No one likes us anymore.
Exactly. And even if Dr. Ruth quietly harbors greater morality than anybody else, though, he's super down to experiment on people, including his own son.
Right.
And manipulate the crap out of him at every turn. So not necessarily, definitely not a good dad, if nothing else. But you do.
Just
you
like
get
Odin.
That, right. You get that, yeah. Well, yeah, sort of. You get that boardroom scene, and he's sitting at that table with everybody else. And even though it seems like he's got less of a taste for the bureaucracy than everybody else, certainly the gist of that scene is A, yeah, this makes us look bad, and B, we got to do something about this, not because it's right, but because this is competition. This is potential professional competition that we just got to stave off right now. You kill the motherfucker.
Right. So, I mean, I like that it's never really clear whose side he's on. Not like you think that he's on Revik's side at any point, but like he's always either on Cameron's side or his own side.
Right. He's definitely not a villain, but he's absolutely not a hero either.
Right.
And he does ultimately pay for his deep moral compromise, because the mole ends up just putting a bullet in the back of his head.
Yeah, that the sequence is weird though. I couldn't tell. Like the way I had written my note is that I was assuming that he was broadcasting his thoughts to Cameron.
He has this weird monologue that doesn't necessarily feel tethered to anything that's going on. But
right.
And it starts with he eventually he's speaking out loud, but it starts with the close up of him and it's voiceover.
Right.
And it is very off-putting.
Yeah.
But that's the impression I got as well, is he's trying to, or even if not specifically to veil, here's just a wide broadcast. If you're listening, you are the resistance. Terminator Salvation, bitch.
Oh, I don't get that reference.
It's fine.
But yeah, because there's that moment, and it created one of my favorite moments from the movie, where like it starts in his mind, and then he, as the actor, stands up and yells. So it's like in his mind, it's like, what we must do is, and then he gets up and goes, defeat Revel! Which I imagine was very fun for that actor. Or I imagine
Hopefully.
he's like, I don't know what's happening in this scene, but I'm a professional. I'm going to do it. No one will know. But it's great. But yeah, I'm glad that he got his comeuppance. Because you learn a lot about him after he's dead that essentially is icky stuff.
Yeah, no, he wasn't a great dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when you get the scene where Revik reveals that he's brothers with Vale, he's also like, yo, he was experimenting on our pregnant mom, and then I developed scanning abilities, and then he's like, I'm going to do it again. And then that's when Cameron came, and then he's like, yo, I'm going to put Cameron in the garbage, and I'll keep tabs on him, but only until I need him.
Right.
And then knowing that this creates like scanning defects, he's like, yo, I'm gonna get this drug on the market, and these babies gonna have some sweet abilities, my dude.
Right. So part of Revik's plan and part of the corporate espionage storyline is you realize that Consec is essentially at war with itself, because one of their offshoots, biocarbon amalgamate, which is basically a drug processing facility, has been taken over by Revik, unbeknownst to the Consec board. And his plan is essentially to use ephemeral to sort of experiment on pregnant women, thereby creating an entire new generation of scanners in much the same fashion that he himself was created.
Yeah.
And that could sure go either way. The thing too that makes Revik even more interesting is you see there's old footage when he was about 22 years old, when he was being kept in a facility, and you see that once you find out Dr. Ruth was experimenting on their mother, you realize, well, Revik was never given a choice, and then he was treated like a lab rat of sorts, and he clearly didn't know what was happening to him, so much so that he tried to drill into his brain to make the voices stop,
Right.
So you can definitely draw a line from how absolutely horrible his background was for him to what he decides he wants to do in this movie.
Right. And you also you get this moment where he has like the traditional Magneto moment where he's like, we're the next stage of evolution, we're gonna build an army and want to take over and all the normies are gonna bow to us. And it's like, I mean, it's not a noble idea, but it's a novel idea. But
also,
I
don't
free
think
will.
but I also don't think it counts as the next stage of natural evolution if you create it with drugs.
Well, I mean,
maybe look. I guess in a 100 years, who's gonna know the difference?
right. I mean, it could just be unlocking a thing that was already there. It's just like ephemeral enhance that. So then essentially normal genes can be bred out, and then it's evolution, or eugenics. I mean,
The line between the two gets blurrier every day.
yeah.
Especially in my house. I'm kidding.
Uh-huh.
I'm totally kidding. I don't do eugenics. They frighten me.
He's always putting his two genes up next to each other and being like, I love these genes, and he throws out the other pair.
But like, that's weird. How does that work? But
Jeez.
no, like obviously it's horrible, but also I don't think I'd fare well in a eugenics dominated society. I don't think I'd be one of those people held up as a bastion of genetic purity. They'd be like, there's so much THC in this fucker's system.
But I mean, unless you at some point you started producing it internally, and they're like, "Oh, he's become a generator."
The next generation of scanners. That's what unlocks the scanner genome. You just get real high.
Yeah.
Extracts. What's Ironside is all about extracts. Daryl Revick's whole plan. He got into the drug lab and he's like, I'm going to create a new generation of scanners, but first I'm going to create a chemical cocktail that gets me stoned as fuck.
Hell yeah.
Because that's where his powers come from.
Speaking of scanners, I like that as terminology. Like this movie has a lot of like specific terms, and scanners as a like fun way of talking about telepaths is, I think, a really cool way to refer to it. Because, like, usually people are like, wow, this guy's a psychic, or blah, blah, he's a mind reader. But, like, having it be specifically like, this guy's a scanner is cool terminology. It, like, has a anime feel to me.
Okay.
In the same way that, like, there's an anime called Code Breaker. And so people with powers are called breakers. So I like that.
Okay.
I just think that, like, having cool terms is a staple of sci-fi,
And it's a great way to establish a world that is similar to ours, but just a half step to the left. Maybe.
right? I also like that each of the scanners have slightly different abilities. Like Jennifer O'Neill, her character of Kim Orbist, she had like pyrokinetics, whereas I think one of them was an empath. And Michael Ironside, his character was specifically like a mind controller.
Yes, and he could manipulate people to actually, I mean, like we were talking about before early in the movie, to shoot each other themselves, crash the car. Imagine being the dude in the other car, by the way. In that earlier sequence, there are two cars, and Revick is in one. They believe he's subdued under the influence of ephemeral, but he's manipulating everybody. Imagine being the guy in the other car who isn't being scanned, who is just like, you better stop this car right now, and shit, like not knowing what was happening, and then being exploded.
Oh, I that'd be terrible. But I also like that. I feel like in a lot of telekinetic media, when people get their minds read, it's a fairly innocuous thing. Like, you're like, yeah, I can read that person's mind. But in this one, it's like, no, this causes physical pain.
You're on fire now. You weren't on fire before, and now you are.
I mean, but like, I like that there's a connection. Like, you're actually like invading someone's mind.
Yes.
That causes actual side effects. So it's not like you can, like in this spy thriller, you can't actually be like a spy because people know they're being scanned.
Right.
which is great. Like, so there's that scene where Vale is talking to this art collector or whatever, and trying to gather information from him. And he's like,
it's not even that he's a collector. Like, he's making all of that shit, and that's a way for him to essentially channel his abilities into something constructive, as opposed to something that's just gonna like eat himself from inside.
right.
Something that is going to eat him from the inside. There we go.
I mean, it is himself though. Hey,
That's
look,
true.
Autophagy, bro. Hell yeah.
Autophagy?
Mental autophagy. Autophagy. It's the phase in your like digestive or like metabolic system at which your body starts to consume itself.
Oh.
Yeah. So it starts creating energy from what's already in your stores.
So sort of like when your stomach is starting to gargle and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what it is.
I learned some shit.
That's what this show is about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
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 You've been scanned. Wow.
The climactic battle was bonkers.
There are a number of bonkers battles in this film. For example, when he's talking to the artist, and the Revik's goons show up with guns and lay siege to the whole place, killing the one guy.
Yeah.
We get this really... it's absurd. This wonderfully absurd psychic battle, which is just a lot of Stephen Lack in close-up whipping his head around super hard.
Yep.
And that's how he defeats them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty something.
I mean, I think that, like, at the time, that was the best way they could conceive of, like, psychic battles. Like, now, we have things like Legion, where you get, like, psychic dance battles and things like
go
that.
into a mindscape and shit.
Right.
But you can see watching this movie that it doesn't look particularly expensive, and the moments where you get, like, an exploding head or some of the makeup effects at the end, it's like, all right, let's allocate a certain amount of resources for that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all the resource we have for that. And so we can't do mindscapes. We can't, because like we'd by 81, we'd started to see big effects movies start to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, like Star Wars was 77. So it's not like these types of things were not feasible at the time, but I don't think they had that kind of money.
Right. Well, yeah. This movie, based on the little research I did, was put together on a very quick timeline, and it was put together on a lower budget, and it was mostly like something done as a, like, part of it was the speed. Part of the speed was because the studio wanted to write it off as part of their, like, financial quarter or whatever.
Yep.
So it had to be written and shot at the same time. So I imagine, yeah, like I think that if given more time, there probably would have been like a cool mindscape stuff. But I also feel like I think that it would have lost some of its charm if they would have done that.
There is a slapdash feel to a lot of the movie, but I agree. Now, some people I would imagine would watch the movie and be like, why does it feel this way? But to me, it does. The rudimentary feel of quite a bit of it adds something.
Yeah.
I couldn't put my finger on what, or maybe it's that it takes something away, and that's occasionally you have to pull an ingredient out of the recipe to maximize the potential and shit. But yes, I think what you're talking about is definitely observable in the final product, but to me doesn't ultimately harm the final product in any substantial way.
Yeah. Because it is specifically a cerebral movie. It's a movie about like what's going on in these characters' heads. And so like they do a good job of conveying that like someone is reading people's minds by like adding the water effect over the VO, or like having people convulse to show that they are in mental agony. Like you don't really necessarily need anything more than what we were given. And I think as an actor, it'd be really fun to just be like, all right, what does it look like to be attacked like in your brain? And that person just gets to play and do that.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's good. I like it.
So you were talking about the final psychic battle between Vale and Revik, which is, as you alluded to, quite a fucking thing to behold.
Oh, yes. I think that like it has a lot of those like Cronenberg like aesthetics. Like there are moments when they're fighting and then they essentially have these like veiny pieces that pop up
and like
that start bleeding.
Blood starts squirting out, and like stuff on their head starts to bulge and whatever. Which is you can definitely trace a line throughout his work of like, even when he was doing it on a smaller scale where it wasn't a big part of the focus of the movie, dude's still playing around with body horror stuff. And also worth mentioning, Dick Smith, who did all the makeup effects, worked on like The Exorcist and a bunch of other things.
Oh, nice.
You get these like bubbling skin patches as they're warring with each other, and as it's starting to look like maybe Vale ain't gonna make it out of this, he's like pulling off little pieces of his face and shit, and I'm like, this is what I'm here for. Money well spent. God damn it.
Yes, and I think that like, I mean, that part grossed me out a lot.
Oh yeah, it's horrifying. Actually, for me though, the veins were worse.
Oh, were they?
A little bit. Just something about like there's just fucking big veins popping blood out, just like in little squirt lines and shit. I found even more unsettling, because even though the face pulling was a really grotesque horror effect and very well done, which makes it even more so. Yeah, I feel like I see things like that more often than the veins showing up and like squirting blood everywhere.
That happens every time I work out. I like go to lift some weights and like veins just start popping out and I start bleeding.
That's how you've lost so many gym memberships that way.
Yeah, they don't like it. Yeah. It's crazy, but I'm like, it's just who I am. I'm like one of those lizards who spits blood out of their eyes as a defense mechanism. It's like my body being like, we don't work out.
Right, so predators are like, fuck's up with that dude. I'm not eating that fucking guy.
Yeah. It's just a natural reflex.
And then they turn tail and they head in the other direction, and you look right at the camera and you're like, you've been scanned. Finger pistol. Pew, pew.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, so I also because at the end of this battle, Vale catches on fire.
Yeah, his whole body burns to a husk.
Yeah, but it turns out that he switched bodies, baby. He was like, oh yeah, I'm in Michael Ironside's hot, sexy body. Look at my eyes, they're green now.
But yeah, the implication being, ultimately, Vale was powerful enough to burn Revik out of his own mind and to jump in there instead. While his previous body, the Stephen Lack, just burns into a husk that Kim finds. And it's really unsettling, especially when you don't know yet how it resolved. For all you know, your protagonist that you've been following since the beginning of the movie has died in this horrible, horrible way. And in a sense, he has, right? Because now he's got Daryl Revik's face, even though it's not him in there anymore. For all intents and purposes, like, he's that guy now, right? Like, everybody would know Revik's face.
Right.
So, for all intents and purposes, Vale, as he existed before, is dead.
Yeah, but he could do more good in Revik's body now.
Oh, for sure.
Because he could be like,
hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but I changed my mind about the project and we're gonna blow up all the ephemeral. How about that?
We make sustainable housing for the poor now.
Hell yeah.
And they're like, this seems different. And you're like, fuck you. And then you mind control them to walk away. Anytime someone starts to realize that you're a little bit different, you just mind control them to walk away and forget what they were thinking about.
And like they snap to about 15 minutes later, and they're like, "Fuck, I got scanned."
And then they look up at you in the main boss's area of the factory, and you do
just a finger pistol and shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that Scanny bitch."
Yeah. So, Lex, if you had psychic powers, would you want them?
I've already thought through this shit.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, let me ask you, like, who if you could scan, right? If you had the full range of scanner powers as depicted in this film, who'd you scan? Who'd you scan the fuck out of?
Like in this movie?
No, I
or
mean
just
in life,
in general,
like in the real world. Who'd you scan?
I don't want scanning abilities because that means. So, I used to have a big fear of people being able to read my mind. Because I was a mean bitch.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
Yes?
We can't just skip past that. What was the foundation of it? Or you just Was it less an actual fear and more of a, if people could read my mind, they maybe wouldn't like the shit I think? Or was it actually, I'm genuinely worried people might be able to do this?
I mean, it was a good, like, legit, like, I'd be on the bus sometimes and I'd like do a little test to see if anyone could like hear me just to make sure. And I'd be like, But no one ever said anything. No one was ever like, "Hey, stop thinking about dicks over there." So
Okay.
But like, yeah, I was genuinely like, it was a genuine thought that would cross my brain every so often. Is that like, like it would be scary if someone could read my mind.
It'd be terrifying.
Yeah. And also, I was a mean bitch, and so I'd be like, man, I'm glad this person doesn't know what I really think about them, because their feet stink. Because I'm mean.
All right.
Yeah, I was. I'm a nice person now. I'm a nice guy. Look at me. Nice guy.
Pew, pew.
Yeah. Anyway.
See, if the I have an answer to this question. If the premise of the question entails that I have these abilities already.
Yeah.
I would scan the fuck out of people who take out their cell phones in movie theaters. You know what I'd probably do is
what?
I would do it Revik style, and I would just make them get up and leave.
Oh,
because
all right.
because I was thinking about it, right? I would say I wouldn't blow up their heads because that would be distracting.
Right. It would end the movie at that moment.
Right. Everybody would be screaming and leaving the theater. I'd be like, I'm trying to hear what Captain America's saying and shit, and all you bitches are screaming. But it would kind of be the same thing if I did what Vale does at the beginning of the movie and just makes him have some sort of like, spasm attack. Still be too distracting.
Right.
So I feel like I would just do the nicest thing that Revik does for anybody in this movie is just make them walk away. Except then he doubles down on shittiness by making them shoot themselves.
Right. Of course.
I wouldn't do that part.
Yes.
But I would make them get up and leave the theater.
Okay.
I would also incept the idea that maybe going to the movies isn't for them. And then I'm the hero.
Right.
Then I'm the Vale and not the Revik. I saved the day and shit.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we're talking about cool powers, then I would love sweet, sweet fire starter powers, because then I could just show it off. I could just be like, pow, 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 look at my sweet fire powers, pow, pow, pow. And then I'd go to like camp places, and then I would just walk around to people's campsites and like start fires for them. And I'd be like, I did a service for you. Pow, 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 pow. Look at me. I'm doing services. Pow, 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 pow.
You're just lighting shit on fire.
I'm giving them fires. Like it
For their
saves them
camps.
time.
I
Yes.
see. You're not just burning trees and whatnot.
No. I go to a forest and I'm like, "Brrr, look, I'm doing you a favor. Never camp again. No, I'm doing people solids.
We're building condos here.
I mean, that'd be a cool one. I like, cause you can't subtly read someone's mind. So like, that is off the table for me. Also, I don't know if I'd want to read people's minds. I feel like everyone's mind is a YouTube comment section. Like everyone's minds are just like, fucking women are garbage people. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear you think that. And they're like, fucking N-words. And I'm like, no, I don't want this. This is not what I signed up for. So I don't want it. I don't want inside people's minds. But yeah, I would take some sweet, sweet fire starter stuff, or like empath abilities. You know what I'm saying? Like not steal, but like really like feel what other people are feeling. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want that. I feel like that would be too intense. I feel like I could be as much of an empath as I feel I need to be by just checking in with folks. Just being like, you all right? Anything you want to talk about?
I mean, but what if you see someone like, so, all right, for example, there was a video recently of a guy who was watching the Star Wars Episode 9 trailer.
I remember.
He was very emotional.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
Right. So I would want to like feel what that guy's feeling. Like I want to be like, yeah, how's that feel?
I know what that feels like.
I don't.
I'm the one who cries at all the goofy superhero stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
Not
but
all
like,
of it, but some of it.
But that's you, bro. It's not me. It's not me. I don't cry unless it's the season 4 finale of Magicians, bro. That's it. Or if it's Hamilton, or if it's a bunch of other stuff that makes me cry. But yeah, so stuff like that. I want to like know what it feels like, or if I'm getting down with someone, I want to know what they feel like, so I could be like, all right, here's how to heighten that up. Like how it makes the goodness go round, baby.
I still feel like
around.
There are several ways to accomplish what you're describing without psychic empath scanner abilities.
I don't think so. I think that's the only way. Yeah. What you think like I should like talk to my partner while we're doing the dirty?
I want to say
I
talk.
should be like, yo, that feel good, and they'll be like, yo, get out of my bedroom.
And then you're like, you got scanned. And they're like, oh, you scanny bitch.
Oh, jeez.
I do feel like it's worth mentioning that this movie is pretty unique in Cronenberg's filmography insofar as, whereas The Fly spawned a sequel, this movie spawned an entire franchise that Cronenberg is not involved in at all.
Yeah.
But has a few sequels. It's got Scanners 2, The New Order, Scanners 3, The Takeover, Scanner Cop in 94. I'm going to check. I've seen none of these. I'm definitely going to check out Scanner Cop. And also Scanners, The Showdown, also known as Scanner Cop 2. Now, I've not seen these sequels, but to the best of my understanding, they de-emphasize a lot of the more cerebral, philosophical implications of this world and these characters and these abilities, and lean real hard into the exploding head stuff.
All right. I mean, that is appealing to me.
Oh, it does sound fun. I've never checked these out, but now I feel like I'm ready.
Especially like Scanners Cop. Like I assume that I'm assuming that the premise is not that it is a cop for scanners and it is just a single cop that has scanner abilities, different town, no one knows about scanners, and they're like,
If the law can't do what I want it to do, then I'll do it myself.
and so any criminal who gets off, he just and blows their heads up, and he's like, Scanner Cop. That's my premise.
And they're too afraid to press charges against this cop.
I mean, they can't prove it. They don't
Right.
know that he's doing it.
Right.
It's like, as far as they know, it's just some weird freak accident that people's heads keep exploding. Because they don't know about scanners. They're like, what is it? What's a scanner? And he's like, you'll never know.
Well, we can put all of our speculation to rest because
No, don't tell me. Don't tell me the truth.
The Wikipedia page for Scanner Cop.
I don't want to know. It's my canon already.
Under plot, it says only the following. Sam Stasiak, a rookie cop with the Los Angeles Police Department, is also a scanner, parentheses, a person born with telepathic and telekinetic abilities, end parentheses. When a string of murders begins to decimate the police department, Sam faces sensory overload and possible insanity as he uses his powers to hunt the man responsible for the killing. So actually, having not seen the movie, this does not preclude your headcanon version of it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm into that. I mean, they made it a lot more personal, where it's like one-on-one. I prefer it to be. I'm hoping Scanner Cop 2 is my version, where he's just like,
I am justice. I am the law.
and he's just like blowing people's heads up, and they have to go after him at some point.
Oh, so like he goes rogue.
Yeah.
Okay, so he becomes the bad cop.
Heck yeah.
All right.
But like, understandably so. Everyone he's tried to arrest is getting off. But since it was made in the 90s or early 90s, they're all of color, and it's real racist. So anyways,
He seems to be scanning very specific demographics. We don't talk about that. We're meeting our quotas. Shut the fuck up.
oh geez. All right. Do you have any final thoughts about this before we wrap up?
Well, the other thing that I think is interesting is that this has not been remade yet.
I had read that they were thinking about remaking it.
In 2007, Darren Bousman, who did a couple of the more successful Saw movies, was attached to develop a remake that never happened.
Yeah.
They talked as recently as 2011 about maybe developing it as as a TV series, but that never happened either.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels very much like a property that you could pump more money into it, and I don't know if it's gonna be good ultimately.
Yeah.
But it seems like you put in a couple of names, right, and you just juke all the effects, and you can still play with the same heady cerebral stuff, but try to modernize it a little bit. That seems like if you could do it for a reasonable budget, that seems a little bit like a no-brainer to me. And I just find it interesting that nobody has actually followed through with a remake of the movie. Now, granted, of course, nobody's going to be able to do Cronenberg like Cronenberg, no matter how much money you pour into it.
Right.
But especially in a world where like now they're remaking Rabid, which is the movie that he did prior to Scanners. I feel like this is one that seems ripe for a remake / modernization.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Well, I think I had read that the 2007 version had fallen through because that they wouldn't do it without Cronenberg's blessing, and they never got it.
Right, like he didn't sign off on it.
Yeah. So I think that's the main blockers. I don't know how he feels about all the other sequels. I mean, he could be like Ridley Scott, where he's like, "Those are not my movie." That's how he talks. Those are not my movies. As I will never have another's. I'm Ridley Scott's.
Oh dear. I would imagine he's not. I mean, I don't. At this point, you'd hope he's not mad about it, and hopefully he got a check of some kind for these movies, but he had nothing to do with them.
Right. So I assume that he's just like, nah, this goes to the grave with me. Make him after I'm dead, bitch. I mean, and we have similar concepts. So I think that, like, you know, if you're looking for some Scanner stuff, watch Legion. If you're looking for some Scanner stuff, watch anything with Jean Grey. If you
I
want
was
some
almost
Scanner
thinking
stuff,
about like Kilgrave, first season of Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
which is similar. He's even though he has to verbalize all of it, not utterly dissimilar from a character like Revik, who's just all about, yeah, I'll make you kill yourself to get what I need. Yeah, totally.
Right. So
except Kilgrave's a snappier dresser.
That's true. I mean, you never got to see. I mean, I don't know. Michael Ironside was rocking that suit at the end.
That's true.
He's like, "Yo, look at my suit and my mullet."
I guess it's kind of
it was just long in the back. I don't know if it was technically a mullet, but it's there. That's what I'm gonna call it. Michael Iron Mullet. Mullet Ironside.
Great. Good stuff. He'll change his IMDb as soon as possible.
Anyways, okay. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up, baby.
All right.
I'm gonna wrap this baby up. Guys, if you haven't seen Scanners and you made it this far, we spoiled the whole thing for you. But if you have and you enjoyed this conversation, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter at Missing Outcast, MISSINGOUTCAST. Let us know what you would do with psychic powers, or if you're like, psychic powers are bullshit. I'd also like to hear that.
That's not real. How dare you? I reject the premise of the question and therefore will not respond to it.
Yeah. Also, if you're a mind reader, don't come anywhere near me. I don't want you by me. I don't need you. Just keep it to yourself.
That's some hardcore bigotry right here on the Missing Out
Hell
podcast.
Yeah. You stay in your own section. This swimming pools for non-mind readers only. Oh boy, to get drink from my fountain.
Anyway, he's getting scanned right now, and that's why his speech has begun to fail him. You look all the way across the yard, like across the street, and you just see Ironside like.
Been scanned.
But yeah, Lex, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at @TheLexMichael.
Awesome. And I'm at Tari J, TARIJAY. If you have a chance, Let us know your thoughts about the podcast. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes, which helps us get to the top of the charts, helps other people find us, and helps us keep making this wonderful content that you hopefully love. Thank you again for joining us. We hope you had a wonderful Good Friday, an amazing 420, and a fantastic Easter.
I like that 420 now makes the lineup.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's what it was. That was this weekend, baby. And if you were at Coachella, bro, let us know. How was it? Was Beyonce there? I hear she does great concerts. I haven't seen her personally, but I hear she's a great performer. But yeah, so all of that. And we will see you next week. Until then, this has been the retrospective that is introspective.
And now you have a new perspective.